Howdy folks, Luke Simons with you, back to the Basics 101. You know, I have been writing down quotes for a long time. Quotes of famous people, so people not so famous, seminars that I've been to, books that I have read, just great quotes. A lot of people said, Luke, you really need to write a book on this, and someday I might. In fact, I have intentions of doing that. But of course, you know, the road to Hades is paved with good intentions. But I have hundreds of quotes wrote down. I have 3 quotes for you today that I think are pretty good quotes, and you might be familiar with these quotes. The first quote is, and I don't know who said this. I tried to look on it with Brother Google and Sister Sari, or whatever her name is. But I couldn't find an author for this one because there's many different varieties of ways of saying it. The first one is, there are 3 kinds of people. Ones that make things happen, others that watch things happen, and the others have no clue what happened. Folks, we're living in the industrial age. It's time that we start to figure out what's happening. And for the revolutionary age, which is unfortunately on your hands, folks, we probably should start making things happen. The second little quote is, there are 2 types of people. There are givers and takers. Now, takers eat better, but givers sleep better. It's a pretty powerful quote. The other quote is by my personal, I love Thomas Sowell as well. There's a lot of them. Ayn Rand, several American philosophers that I absolutely adore. But one American philosopher that really doesn't get enough credit is Will Rogers. Now, Will Rogers, you guys, quoted, he is very well quoted, but most people don't realize they're quoting him. American philosopher, listen, for you old timers, your grandparents idoled Will Rogers. That's right. Your great grandparents were shaped by Will Rogers, for most of you watching, and we don't even realize it. Will Rogers was a phenomenal man. But what his quote was, there are 3 kinds of people. Ones that learn by observation. It's a powerful way of learning. Secondly, there are those that learn by reading, which is a powerful way of reading. Learning, excuse me. And I'll probably digress into that a little later. And thirdly, there are those that just had to pee on the electric fence. So ones that learn by observation, others that learn by reading, and the third just had to pee on the electric fence. And he is absolutely correct. Another quote by Will Rogers is, 90% of politicians give the other 10% a bad reputation. 90% of politicians give the other 10% a bad reputation. Now, that third quote about reading, most of us do not read. Mark Twain, who is the father of American literature, said, those that do not read have no advantage over a man that cannot read. Those that do not read have no advantage over a man that cannot read. Now, mind you, that is a person that is credited to the American literature. He is the father of American literature. That's a pretty big deal. We live in the information age, folks. If you don't know what's going on, that's on you. In your back pocket or in your breast pocket, you have more information than Homer, Plato, and Socrates combined. Yeah? You have that information in front of you. And people say, well, I don't know what to believe. That's on you. Tom Brokaw used to say, which a great book by Tom Brokaw is, The Greatest Generation. The Greatest Generation. Good book that you should read. He said, I report, you decide. Folks, information is out there. People that are saying, well, I don't know what to believe, or I don't get involved in politics. And I think we're past the point of politics. If you've been watching the last two debates, we are way past politics. Way past politics. Folks, stay strong. Be courageous. I'll leave you with one Bible scripture. Matthew 19:26. But Jesus beheld them and said unto them, with men this is impossible, but with God all things are possible. I'm going to reread that because that's so important. Matthew 19:26. But Jesus beheld them and said unto them, with men this is impossible, but with God all things are possible. Our God is the Alpha Creator God. There is none like him. There is none that stands beside him. He is ultimate supreme ruler of the universe. And with him, we can do all things, all things. He is our strong refuge. He is our strong tower that we can run to. With God, all things are possible. And with one story. A little boy came home from church and he said, boy, Dad, Goliath he was really brave. And his dad thought he was confused and said, no, son, David was brave. He goes, no, Dad, Goliath was so brave. And his dad, no, son. Well, finally, he said, son, what do you mean? He goes, well, Goliath had to have known the God of Israel and all the things that their God did. And Goliath stood out on that field with just his shield bearer. And David had God on his side. Folks, think about this. We have God on our side. If God be for us, who can stand against us? The only problem in the equation of God is us, our flesh. And our flesh even over the devil. It's our flesh. Henry Ford once said, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. If you don't think you can go to the promised land, you're right. And then the Calebs have to hang around a bunch of losers for 40 years. But yeah, you're right. You never will go to the promised land. But if you think that you can, with God, all things are possible. If God be for us, who can stand against us? The steps of a righteous man are ordered by the Lord. It doesn't say a perfect man. Lot was righteous, the scripture says, but he certainly was not perfect. Did some naughty things, but he was righteous, powerful, really powerful. Love you all. Till next time, this is Luke Simons. Happy trails.